What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs have been a very good basketball team and got De'Aaron Fox back and are very likely going to only improve and get better. This is a team that is very scrappy, very talented, very good. They're young, they're hungry, they're athletic. I mean, you got players and pieces and all kinds of stuff all over the place this is a team that even as is, you look at and go like, they just need time. Right? This is a team that can be and has the potential to be a complete basketball team. It's just kind of giving them the time and putting all the pieces together. However, one of the things that is, I still think, very clear at some point, not necessarily saying that you have to do it this season or right now, but we talked about it a lot in the offseason. At some point, the Spurs are going to have to kind of consolidate guys. Are going to have to start making some tough decisions and some tough calls on the roster, right? Now, the question was kind of, do you use this season as your kind of figure it out year and feel it out year and then kind of make your moves accordingly in the offseason? And you could still do that, right? Spurs are a really good basketball team. Let's say they finish the 4th seed this season and they lose in the first or second round. It's like, okay, you kind of have an idea. Okay, these are a handful of guys. Jeremy Sohan, we need to kind of evaluate him because, he's going to be doing a new contract. But did Fox and Harper and Castle, were they able to coexist, or was that a little clunky and awkward, right? Like, how is Wemby and Fox, right? How is Wemby and Castle and Dylan Harper and all that? You kind of start to really kind of narrow down, okay, how do you want this team to look and shape up and whatnot, right? Brian Wright even talked about how he wants this team to have that defensive identity, second defense and all of basketball behind OKC, all of that. They're playing both sides of the basketball. It's a great team, right? But I do think that there is an argument to be made. The Spurs have been playing so well, and yes, people like to point out like they've had an easier schedule and they do have a tougher schedule coming up. But if we get to closer to the trade deadline, and let's say the Spurs still are really good, let's say 40 games in, they are 25-15, right? Which isn't anything crazy, but it's like, hey, you know what? There could be something there. You get the right matchups, right? Fox and Wemby are starting to kind of come into their own a little bit. They're looking great, right? I don't hate the idea if the right move is again, I don't want to see the Spurs just make trades just to make trades. Best ability, availability, best, no trade is better than a bad trade, right? Like, patience is key, right? As long as that patience pays off. That's the other thing, right? All of those things I kind of hold true. But if come the trade deadline, because you got a lot of teams that are likely going to be bad, or that are bad right now that are likely going to stay bad. And you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to want to kind of fire sales and figure stuff out and get off of things and make moves and make changes. You got guys like Harrison Barnes that, is an expiring contract, and Jeremy Sohan, right? Like, be an interesting prospect to players. Not saying that you have to trade them or that, just kind of just throwing out names and scenarios like expiring contracts, young talent type thing, insert the guy that you want, right? But again, if that right move or right trade comes on, and I'm not talking about a star like a Giannis or anything like that. Sure, if you want to go that route, they're going to do what they're going to do. But I'm talking more like, hey, we're a very good basketball team. We are in prime position to maybe really go make a run and a push as soon as this season. At worst, we get another kind of piece that kind of get more time with in the offseason and training camp and preseason and the next year's regular season, maybe make another key move or two in the offseason. And now we're ready to contend and go win an NBA championship, right? Maybe we stumble face first and win one this year, or we're in the NBA finals or something like that, then anything can happen, right? I do think if that right move, that right trade comes along, I think the Spurs should be looking to be active around the trade deadline, but cautious on what they do, right? Because you also don't want to do something that'll set you back and put you in a worse spot, right? Even if it sounds good or looks good on paper. Now, granted, you never really know until you actually do it and get there. And then you're like, oh man, that trade just didn't work out, right? Like, so again, it's one of those things you don't really know until you get there how good a trade is or isn't, if that really works out. I mean, you look at a team like Dallas, right? Like Dallas is in last place, the worst team or one of the worst teams in basketball. And, it's like, yeah, obviously the Luka trade was like, come on. But it's like, with Anthony Davis and Max Christie and Kyrie and all these, it's like, okay, there is a version of that team that could be very good at the game of basketball. But again, circumstances happen, right? So you never know how things are going to fully play out until you're in the mix of it. But I do think that the Spurs should be active in at least those conversations, looking to keep stones turned over. Obviously, again, if the Spurs just fall off a cliff, and all of a sudden now they can't win games to save their lives, and they, 40 games in, they're all of a sudden they're 15 and 25 or something like that. Then yeah, sure, like maybe that changes things. Maybe you're kind of like, okay, let's just kind of evaluate who we want to keep this season, and then kind of get off the guys that we don't want to next season, Vassell or whatever. But if this team continues to play well, I don't think you should just be like, all right, we're good. Like we can just be patient. Let's just give it a year or two. Because then again, that's another year that you're wasting that allows other teams to catch up. That allows, that puts you in a position where it's like now Wemby's frustrated. Like my point is, like, if the Spurs have an opportunity to kind of go for it a little bit here, and I'm not saying go for like, push all your chips in, sell because you don't want to ruin chemistry and trade off key guys that have been very crucial and stuff, unless it's just like some insane package. But what I'm talking about is like, whatever, right? Like, an upgrade out on the wing. Like if you can go get somebody like a Trey Murphy or a Herb Jones or something like that at the right price. Like I'd look to go do that. Like if again, it doesn't even have to be a big name or a big player or anything like that. It maybe even just to like kind of give you a little bit of better bench depth or whatever for a team that already has a ton of good bench depth, right? Like whatever, or you can console like, hey, these we could turn these three guys into this guy. And this guy is just, better front end talent for what we want to do and can maybe push us in the direction of winning. Right? It's not something I think you have to rush to. I'm not talking about like, hey, go make this trade tomorrow or anything, right? Like you still got a lot of time between now and the trade deadline. And maybe that trade just doesn't develop. Maybe there's nothing there. Maybe it just doesn't make sense. Maybe, like, again, maybe it's just like, it's too risky to do it right now. Let's just kind of see where we end up. Take a step back and then look for an opportunity in the offseason. Again, I trust this organization to kind of figure that out and come to that decision and that conclusion. But again, if the opportunity presents itself, I think that they should take it. And I think that they have to take it. And I think you'd be almost foolish not to. Right. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, past question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else but not, we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.